This at one point in time was the most expensive car in the world to purchase. Not just the most expensive Rolls-Royce, but the most expensive car money could buy. Exciting times. It is Starman Day, so I am just going to check the oil. I've just turned the power back on to the Duchess, and we are heading up to Nottingham to see Dwayne and Carl at Starman's. So the reason this is very exciting is getting the Duchess into Dwayne means we can sort some of the problems. First of all, the knocking exhaust, which it's sort of just doing a little bit of now already while the car's warming up, and getting it fresh MOT, which can be very important because to sell this car as a 1981 car, it really should be tax exempt, and selling it as a not tax exempt car would be slightly silly. Despite the fact it's probably 3 or 4 years into being to qualifying for being tax exempt, I am still paying road tax to drive this vehicle, which is stupid. All because I need to get a fresh MOT. So it had an MOT in that time, but I never had a copy of the certificate. And to get it tax exempt, you have to go into an actual post office and present them with the V5, the insurance certificate, and the fresh MOT for them to register it as a historic vehicle. So a fresh MOT also means it's going to be proven good for the buyer. So it has an MOT. It will be tax exempt. It will have had a fresh once over. It will have had the exhaust sorted. It probably doesn't need a service, but I might get Dwayne just to check it over and see what he thinks, and drop the oil and put a new filter in just in case. So, time to get on the road in the Duchess. Move out of my way, peasants. Probably shouldn't include that bit in the video. But that's how it feels when you're driving this car. It feels like you can shoo people out of the way with your grille. I also feel like I should speak like this. Lord of the Manor speaking. I also, for some reason, I'm driving with my hand here. Don't know why. Just because there's an armrest and this feels very comfortable. It feels like I should have a little whiskey in this hand. Not that you should drink and drive. It's very, very bad. But it feels like it would fit the aesthetic. Right, here we go. Right here, we are well underway. Hopefully the audio is okay because I've moved the microphone to up here rather than here because it was getting in the way, and I think I was probably making background noise by moving my shirt and my arms around. So, I am enjoying driving the Rolls-Royce as always. It is a very cathartic operation driving this car, and now I'm going to need to sneeze, which is really good for the video. Am I going to sneeze? Please don't go away. Excuse me. Good job I'm not actually on the dual carriageway yet. So, I'll try that again, shall I? So I am obviously now well en route in the Rolls-Royce. It is a delight driving the Duchess. It really is. It's just comfortable and lazy. The only one problem is it's so comfortable and lazy. Sometimes it's difficult to keep up with traffic because you don't feel like you want to rush anywhere, and everybody seems to be rushing these days. Right, time to pull out onto the dual carriageway, where I really do need to get the hammer down a bit. 50. No, that's 50. 55. 60, that'll do. So I was driving along, and my brain sort of wandered off, and I realised in a previous video I talked to you about a Volvo 850. Now, you've seen the yellow Volvo 850. one that was featured on the Late Break show that Johnny Smith came to look at and helped me revive, which I still haven't done any work on. I really need to get it back down off the lift. The problem with having it on the lift is you don't get round to touching it, whereas when it's on the driveway, at least you can kind of dig into it. Anywho's, there is another Volvo 850. So we have three 850s. We have a Fiat 850, a yellow T5R 850, and a grey T5. And this is a car that I saved from the scrapyard some 20 odd years ago. And I am only the third owner of this car. It has done some fairly astronomical mileage. It's now on 200 and something thousand, 220,000 miles, I think, as most good Volvos are. Unfortunately, it had a fault with the engine. We lost a piston ring one day when towing. So it had a new engine. The engine actually came from a yellow T5R that was in at Shemtech at the time, having a later ME7 engine put in it. So, I mean, it's the same engine basically, but it has technically got a T5R engine in it. And then when we were down at Goodwood, we were towing with the T5 again, and the gearbox started playing up, more so than it ever had. It's always been a little bit glitchy. Sometimes in certain weathers, it's the contacts mainly on the gear selector. It doesn't know what gear it's in, it goes into limp mode, whereas this was like a permanent limp mode. Something I think failed inside the gearbox, some sort of hydraulic failure. Maybe one of the actuators that pulled one of the straps around the planetary gears had failed. So I took the gearbox off at the beginning of COVID in lockdown, when we were allowed to go off to the workshop but weren't allowed to socialise with the people. Well, I got on and did some work on the car. I actually got very hands-on. We did a cam belt. We put an 850R clutch on it. I fitted the 5-speed gearbox from another T5 that I had in for spares, and got it almost all the way there. I did the brakes on it. I did the suspension on it. And it really was looking really very close to being an excellent car, apart from the fact it'd gone completely algal, having sat outside for probably 5 or 6 years. And then things got a bit busy. I mean, you can see on the channel all the other stuff we had to do. We spent a lot of time going back and forwards to Yorkshire for family reasons, and the car just got left. So when I had to move workshop from HQ 1.0 to HQ 2.0, I decided what better time than to actually pass this car over into the hands of the experts. So I handed it over to Shem, who has been busy working away on it. He's done quite a lot of rust repairs. As he slowly unpicked the car, we found there has been a fair amount of rust hiding away. Nothing really that bad. The obvious rust was the wing. The wing was horrendous, and all the wing hangers had rotted. The inner wings were okay, but there were a couple of patches where it was getting scabby. So while it's apart, fix the things that are there. Similarly with the back of the car, we had to get the tow bar off, to get the rear bumper off, to put new rear bumper hangers on, because those had completely rotted away. As it happens, I already had those in stock. I bought them some 10 years ago, knowing I needed to do them on the grey T5, but it was quite a lot of work to get that undone, and unfortunately somebody had routed the cabling for the tow bar, which would have been the dealer, because it was a dealer car. It belonged to the dealership manager for most of its life, and they're the ones that fitted the tow bar, had run the wiring through the rear slam panel that's part of the bracket that holds the bumper on. It's like this aluminium bar that runs behind the bumper, all of which has to come off to replace the bumper hangers. So we had to basically cut all the wiring for the tow bar, and Shem's now busy putting all of that back together. But the long and the short of this is, the T5 is nearly back on the road. I haven't been able to do really any video content with the car, because Shem is miles away from where I am, and I do still have a full-time job because, well, I only have just under 3,000 subscribers, which is pathetic in the grand scheme of YouTube. But the car is getting slowly ready, and the plan for the car, once it is restored, is to become my daily. Very nice V10 M5 just gone past us. It's going to replace the Audi, which I need to go and pick up today. So the Audi is ready. S-Line have fixed the wiper problem, and it wasn't as cheap as we hoped. It needed a new wiper motor because I broke the stem on the mechanism that holds the wiper arm on, and that was the suspected fault anyway. It turns out that wasn't the fault. There was actually a wiring issue again. Somewhere in the wiring loom was a broken wire, which is what stopped it from working. So they've run a replacement wire between the 2 points at which there was a broken wire. We haven't bothered unpicking the loom to try and find out exactly where the problem is, because that would have cost a lot of money and labour. And put it all back together. They've solved the problem with the swirl flaps by mapping it out. They've also done a stage 1 map, whatever the hell that means. Another 50 horsepower apparently is what it means. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is like, but that gets rid of my engine warning light, which is the important thing. So the car can now be put through an MOT, and most importantly, can therefore be sold. It's not actually due an MOT for another couple of months, but I will probably put a fresh MOT on before it goes, so it's good for the next owner. And the reason I want to sell it is I actually want to push the grey 850 T5 into daily service. I want to use it every single day because that's what it was built for. I want to put another 100,000 miles on that car. One, because, well, it's a Volvo, so it should be good for it. Two, I don't see it as being much less safe than any modern car because it's made of, you know, 1.5 tons of Swedish pig iron. And because I adore that car. I've had it for years. I've driven all across Europe in that car. I've moved houses for people with that car. I've towed cars with it. I've towed trailers. I've done all sorts. We've pulled dents out of cars with it. Unbananaed Fiestas for Dr. Nuff. So it is really part of the family. I've driven it. My late father drove it. My brother drove it. My wife, I don't think ever drove it, but has gone many places in it. And so it feels like I need to be using it more, which is what you should do with any classic, really. And it's odd to think the Volvo 850 is now a classic. That is a 31-year-old car, which blows my tiny little mind slightly. But yeah, my plan is to put that into daily use and get rid of one or two other of the cars. And because it's got a tow bar and it's a big estate car, and it's not, you know, super clean inside, it's been well used, it will effectively replace the van. So I can get rid of the van, I can get rid of the Audi. The Rolls-Royce is going to go up for sale after this trip to Starman's. So all in all, I'm going to have a much lighter fleet, and a lighter fleet means less bills. It also means more time to spend on other cars. So a random little rant around what is going on in the world of Automotive Tales, but I thought I'd update you on the things that are happening, because hopefully in spring, summer, things are going to change. Although I have a backlog of videos, so this is probably going to come out in early summer at this rate. Right, I best concentrate on driving as we're getting into Nottingham, where the roads get really complicated and ridiculously busy. So we'll see you at Starman's.
A few moments later.
So this thing here is a Command. Oh, my hair is a right mess. This at one point in time was the most expensive car in the world to purchase. Not just the most expensive Rolls-Royce, but the most expensive car money could buy. And this has been in at Starman's now for probably 6 or 7 years, going through an absolutely incredible restoration process. And isn't it a fabulous thing? It's nice to see it's now on its wheels, engine runs, it's just got a few bits of interior bits left to finish. What a beautiful car. What a beautiful car. Okay, and with that, the Rolls-Royce has dropped off. I've ordered an Uber, which I've never done before, and we're going to go straight to S-Line to go and pick up the Audi, which is now ready after quite an ordeal, which I'll fill you in all the details of in just a minute. I'm not quite sure what's going on with the light in here. I look a bit strange and maybe slightly overexposed. But anyway, as you can tell, I am back in the little Audi A6 S-Line, which is back from S-Line, the Audi specialists, and everything is functioning. We no longer have an engine warning light on the dashboard. We have functioning wipers, and the car's a little bit quicker than it was before. So they diagnosed the issue to actually be a broken wire in the wiring loom. However, the initial suspect was the wiper motor, because they weren't getting a consistent signal. Sorry, they were getting a signal at the wiper motor, but it wasn't functioning. Turned out as soon as you put load on, that voltage dropped away, which means there's a short somewhere. So they've piggybacked a new wire over the wiring loom, cut either end of the faulty wire to stop any further shorting, and everything is working fine. Unfortunately, the wiper motor had to be replaced anyway, because numbnuts here broke the spigot that the wiper sits on, trying to retighten it, which is what is here. So it probably needed doing anyway, because there was clearly very rusty and there was some problems with this bolt being seized. But hey-ho. So that has cost me £1,400 to keep this Audi on the road. That's almost what I paid for the car. But we fixed two major problems. One, which meant the car was undrivable, so the car was effectively, well, not quite bricked, but it was no use to us if you haven't got no wipers, because we're in the UK and it can rain at any given moment. And it's got rid of the engine warning light, which would have been an MOT failure. If I come to sell the car, I will put a fresh MOT on it. So that needed sorting anyway. And while they were in there, they've done me a stage 1 map, whatever stage 1 means. And it definitely seems to pull a little bit harder. It seems to hold the boost a bit more through the rev range, which makes the car a bit more tractable, which is not a bad thing. So, one bill down. Obviously, I've dropped the Rolls-Royce off this morning. I don't know what the bill's going to be on that. But Dwayne tends to be quite gentle with me, so hopefully not a massive one. And that will come back having the exhaust rattle fixed, anything else that needs doing,
and we'll have a fresh MOT. So we're sort of getting there. Next thing on the list is the Clio. The Clio is perfectly functional now. We've fixed, there was a slowly leaking tyre. Over about a week, the back right tyre was going down, so that's been resealed. Next thing is to get it all cleaned up. In the meantime, I'm going back to the workshop because I've got some more wiring to do on the woodshed, which is the bit next to the workshop. And then I need to dig a great big hole to bury my nice new armoured cable, which is allowing me to work in the workshop with without the power going off when it rains, which is, you know, rather a nice, it's not a luxury, is it? It's sort of a standard expectation from the wiring, but it's nice to have that finished. So, right, another expensive month. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have you ever seen anything as pretty as this? Look at that. Now that's a tiny little LED, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Originally that would have been a fibre optic that comes from down here. And